All right, guys, our favorite time of the week when we get to answer a few of your questions. Saagar, what's up first?
Number 1, Elizabeth Cooper. What music do you listen to? The Pearl Jam discussion, Saagar not understanding why anyone that could afford to hire them would do so, makes me curious. Who would fit that bill for you? So I'll take you behind the veil. I really don't listen to that much music. I listen to like Top 40 and then Blink-182. So if I could hire anyone, I would hire Blink-182. Yeah, because I'm still a teenager inside. Yeah.
Okay, I know everybody says this, but it really is true in my case. I like
You like everything. Yeah.
I love rap and hip hop and R&B. I like country. I like pop. I'm a big Britney Spears fan. Maybe that's who I would get.
Yeah, there.
Britney Spears.
Yeah,
if I could get Britney,
that'd be a good one.
I like Taylor Swift. Taylor Swift is sort of like comfort music to me, especially I prefer her older stuff when it was a little bit more of the country pop versus like whatever she is now. Yeah, so I'm gonna go with Britney. I'm older than you, so that's like that was my teenage years and childhood. Right. So we'll do that. I actually went and saw Backstreet Boys when they were in Vegas, and it was hilarious because they're all like probably 40 old. Roughly, and total like dad bods at this point. And they're still doing the musical numbers and the dances like they're sex symbols. But the funny thing is that everybody was in on the joke, right? So it was just like, it was really funny. And it was just like, it was a fun time.
That's awesome.
Yeah, cool. So I truly, and I've got a teenage daughter, young teenage, 13 years old. So she listens to actually cool music. So she helps to like keep me up to speed with that stuff.
Olivia Rodrigo.
So, that one definitely is not on the list. But yeah, so I feel like I'm happy to listen to 80s, 90s, 2000s, and current music all the way through. I also like a good bit of 70s. Anyway, I'm all over the map. I like
K-pop too. Should have mentioned that.
I like some K-pop too.
I love K-pop.
I like a little bit of K-pop. All right, next question. Matthew Lena, progressive policy ratings. Why are progressives so spineless? And when are they going to realize that their policies are widely popular amongst voters? Great question. I'm going to answer this in a little bit more of a hopeful way than I would have last week, which is that I do think that what Cori Bush did with the eviction moratorium was powerful. I think it took courage. It pissed off Democratic leadership. It would embarrass them and forced action. And all she had to do, they didn't even threaten a legislative hardball tactic, which I think, could potentially force even more. But just by being direct and saying it is the Democrats' fault that this is happening and creating this moment of public shame, she was able to force action. So I am mildly hopeful that that will be like create a positive reinforcement cycle where maybe we'll see a little bit more of that, a little bit more direct hardball tactics, a little more efforts to shame the people in power, because let's face it, I mean, Democrats control the White House and the Senate and the House. The big test is about to come, which is on the reconciliation bill. Bernie Sanders tells me we're not doing the bipartisan infrastructure bill if we're not getting our $3.5 trillion infrastructure reconciliation bill. I asked him, what are your red lines? He said, I have red lines, but I'm not going to tell you what they are. So we'll see how hard they play on that reconciliation bill, because the bipartisan infrastructure bill is kind of crappy. It's not, it doesn't have the climate change provisions. It's a relatively low dollar amount. It's got some privatization schemes that are gross. So are you actually willing to hold that up and withhold your vote to get a truly good reconciliation bill and not just settle for like, we got a few crumbs? That'll be the test.
Yeah, it certainly will. All right, third question. James Bass, the fourth branch. Krystal and Saagar, I grew up in the days of the fairness doctrine, more reliable form of reporting. I was young, certainly, but it seemed that we had more faith in our media. How can we get back to a point where journalism returns to being the fourth branch and keeping checks and balances on our establishment? Well, I've got some bleak news for you, James. I don't think the fairness doctrine is coming back. I also think that the internet has scrambled everything and has made it so that, I mean, look, you guys are participating in this, right? Like this show and all new forms of media are going towards not necessarily the largest audience. I would love to speak to 60 to 100 million people, but like outside of a few cultural figures, it's like not even really possible anymore today. So I hate to say it, I think it's going to get worse. I think it's just going to be all people descending into, like their own tiny little echo chambers. And I guess what I try to hope is that we build a big enough one which doesn't feed people lies and all of that. But we're trying our best here in what we can do, but the overall system and the internet itself, I just don't know if that makes it possible.
I think what's been most encouraging about what we've done here is that we know, first of all, our audience is extremely ideologically diverse.
Yeah, all over the map.
It's very unusual. On YouTube, on the back end, you can see what other channels people watch.
I'm always
and
like, what?
It's hilarious because it's Joe Rogan, it's Kyle Kalinske, it's Ben Shapiro.
Yeah, I was like, Ben Shapiro and
Jimmy
then Jimmy Dore.
It's
You're like, what?
I mean, it truly is. And I mean, it really is all the way across the spectrum. And I think that's very encouraging because I'm not sure that we had an example before of people who not only intentionally showed up to listen to, but actually paid to hear from people that they may really not agree with on a number of issues. So because they felt like they were getting at least an honest assessment, even if they didn't totally agree with where the conversation went. So, I think that's the best we can hope for is that in the new media ecosystem, projects like that are rewarded, projects where the hosts are genuinely trying to be honest, no matter, and upfront about whatever their worldview is, whatever their biases are, and are truly trying to get at the truth of what is happening in the country and around the world. The best hope I can offer is that those types of projects will be rewarded, that people will support them, that they'll show up for them because there's no redeeming these mainstream media organizations. Like, it's too far gone. They're too beholden to the corporate world and their advertisers and the bottom line and, whatever their particular ideological niche is. So I think that's the best we can possibly hope for.
Yeah. All right. Fourth question.
Next question. Sincere Legislators from Daryl Lansgard. Can you identify any representatives or senators who sincerely would like to solve problems with workable solutions regardless of political fallout from their respective parties? What do you think, Saagar?
It's interesting. Guy just came across my radar. Chris Smith, Republican from New Jersey.
Okay.
Who voted for the PRO Act, gets a ton of union money, has been supported by a lot of the people in his district, and is not known by anybody on the national stage whatsoever.
Yeah.
And he's a Republican and also quite popular in his district. I was like, wow, who is this guy? I was like, I haven't even heard of this guy.
We should interview him.
Yeah, no, I was thinking about it. And one of my friends was telling me about him and being like, there's this guy, Chris Smith, who voted for the PRO Act. And I was like, really? I was like, who is it? He's like really pro-working class, pro-union,
He's just
GOP.
gotta have the most boring name in history.
Yeah, he's just like this random representative in New Jersey who's got all this heterodox stuff going on. And I was like, wow. I mean, look, I don't know much about the guy, but you vote for one of 5 Republicans who votes for the PRO Act, something's going on there, right? So I'm really interested in that.
Look, I think that, and I guess I differ from some on the left in that I do think that the squad is sincere in their desire to affect change. And I think Bernie Sanders is sincere in his desire to affect change and find workable solutions. Remember when he worked with Josh Hawley on the checks? And I mean, he really, in talking to him last week, he really wants the $3.5 trillion thing to get done and for these provisions to get in there. And he really is trying to figure out the best way to make that happen. To me, that came through very clearly. Where I disagree at times is on their theory of how to effectuate that and on the tactics that they ultimately use. So I'm not so nihilistic as to think that there's no one here who has good intentions, who isn't thoroughly corrupted, who does buy big money, who does actually want to see the country get better. I just see a lot of shrinking violets when it comes to willingness to be hated by the media, willingness to be hated by leadership, and understanding that you were never going to be your most effective playing within the system because these people hate you and they're trying to destroy you. So that's where my issue comes in, not really with regards to their sincerity. And ultimately, whether or not they're sincere, we can't get into their hearts and minds and know that. What really counts in the end is like, what do you actually get done? What are you actually willing to do to get those things done?
That's right. All right, last question.
Last question. What do you think, Saagar?
William Yalen, pointers versus breakers. Regarding the pointers versus breakers group name discussion, pointers by definition means helpful pieces of advice or information, suggestions for improvement. That's what this movement is all about.
What do you think?
I think so. What about point breakers? So I've heard that one.
That's kind of long.
Yeah, it's a little bit
That's too
long.
long.
Like I said, I don't think it's up to us. I think it's up to the community. Yeah.
Yeah, I actually didn't know that pointers was in the mix.
Yeah. I hadn't heard that either. Yeah. I also hadn't heard pointers.
I do kind of like it.
I think it's a dog. Isn't it a dog?
It is a dog.
Yeah,
That is
right.
the first thing that came to mind.
Yeah.
Is it? I don't
know. Maybe we should get a dog. I'm good.
I already have one dog, and
Yeah.
it's a lot of trouble for me. So
Okay.
no, we're not going there. She's
right.
having this thing where she keeps pooping on my porch. And it's really an issue. So I don't need another dog in my life. I'm having enough trouble
I'll take
cleaning
it. I'll
up
get
the
a
messes
second
of
one.
that one.
All right.
But I do like the pointer's name. So as always, we leave it to you guys. Whatever catches on, catches on. Whatever you're feeling, and
up to you.
we're down with any of it.
That's right. All right. We love you guys. Thanks for watching, and we will see you all next week.
Love you guys. Have a good one.